Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and it's Friday, which means more obscurities in literature. And actually, this is a book that might be a bit controversial for some people. I'll just preface everything with that. But this is Jason Aaron's and Aaron Guerra's The Goddamned. And I first read this when it first came out, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And like I said, it might not be for everybody. It could be a little bit of a controversial choice here, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But I remember reading it and thinking, damn, this is like something out of like a French, big budget, nice full length graphic novel. And originally, this was just a nice little paperback, but then Image went and re released the book in this big, larger format. And I'm not kidding, it is a much bigger, larger format. For example, here is a typical American sized paperback, good old King Cole, versus, a French, I don't know what the word is, bande dessinée or something like that. But you can see this book is a little bit wider, which is unfortunate that the pages are still kind of cut to a smaller size. But then again, I mean, it was an intended American-style comic. But as we go through it, you can see some examples of where it was a bit more inspired by the French style. And I just have to say, I absolutely love this book. And it pisses me off to no end that I can't get the other volumes of Olivier Ledoir's Wicca. I mean, this book, we're getting sidetracked, but this book is just absolutely freaking gorgeous with these massive double page spreads and the amount of detail that they cram in here. This is the guy that did Requiem, the Vampire Knight. And then the hunters first show up. It's just a very, very neat book. And so my parents were originally supposed to be in France last summer, and then stuff happened, obviously, which ended that chance of me getting these books because they had planned on getting them, and for whatever reason, I cannot seem to get them even through Amazon Canada or anything like that, and all of these sellers on eBay and various bookstores are all jacking the prices up ridiculously, but okay, that's neither here nor there. If anybody has any leads on where I can get the other volumes of Wicca for a reasonable price, by all means, please let me know. Back to The Goddamned. So, this is actually a interesting take on a lot of the creation stories, in a sense. It stars Cain, as in Cain and Abel, and is very much a biblical style story, except in a very post-apocalyptic landscape. So this is like post-antediluvian style before the Great Flood occurs, and you can see here 1600 years after Eden. So I'll say this, the language in this book is absolutely vulgar and immature, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It very much is fitting with the style of the story and the context of it. And it is incredibly violent. And what's interesting is a lot of the pages actually have those signatures, and if you've spent enough time reading French books, they often do illustrate page by page. And in this case, there is a lot of that, almost every issue. And then we have Noah, as in Noah in the Ark, in the flood, and all kinds of crazy prehistoric monsters. There's this big fancy, yeah. You could absolutely tell they had a heck of a time enjoying themselves drawing this book. Of course, I don't want to spoil too much, but like I said, it's an interesting take on the story of Noah. If you've seen like the Aronofsky movie or read the comic that they made based on it, it was an interesting parallel, and I kind of remember reading them both around the same time, as well as Adrian Smith's Chronicles of Hate, and they all had a very similar vibe, very dark, very bleak, very apocalyptic. And if you dig that style, I absolutely recommend this book. It really was something that I like to come back to. We have this great spot where we have Eden in all of its majesty. And then literally the next page is the same place. It's just an absolute horrid mess. And there's just monsters everywhere, humanoid creatures, and the amount of detail that gets poured into some of these panels. I mean, there's points where it's like I can't even really figure out what exactly is going on in the panel. They are getting so overtly detailed. The arc is getting built. But I don't want to spoil too much. Let's just say it ends on an interesting note. And of course, Cain is unable to die in this story unless it is by the hands of something other than man. So he's on the hunt for the giants and Nephilim. Then we get into the covers. Now, I remember some of these covers and some of the artwork in the original paperback version, but then we have a couple of other ones, other pinups and stuff in the back. But then we also have a sample of Jason Aaron's script. And I gotta say, I thought it really worked. I've heard some people complain it was rather immature, but I'm like, I thought it worked really well for the type of story that they were trying to tell. And the interesting thing is there is a second book, and I want to say that as of right now, as of the time of filming this, it is supposed to be coming out in the near future. My hope, so I wiggle the camera here, setting this down. My hope is that we get a big deluxe hardcover oversized edition like this. I think this book really deserved it. I mean, I ever remember sitting there when the original came out thinking to myself, damn, this thing really, really deserves to have a big over deluxe treatment. And it really, really fits the larger than life storytelling that's going on here. And I mean, I know it's a bit of an older release, but the fact that I just got this in hardcover, I was quite ecstatic, and I got it for a very reasonable price. It should still be in print. I don't see this tearing up the charts in terms of popularity or anything like that. So I will put some links down below, and I will put a link for the upcoming book as well if you find this one of interest as it is. Like I said, I've always enjoyed kind of creation style stories, or stories that, you know, take place before the time that is now. I know there's a couple others. The First Kingdom by Jack Katz comes to mind, and I really would love to show that off, but there's so much copious amounts of nudity, I'm afraid it's just going to set off all kinds of warning alarms from YouTube and get things flagged. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Who knows? But definitely, if you don't mind dipping into biblical stories and, you know, prehistory and all that kind of stuff, I think this book might be a fun one, especially if you don't mind tons of violence and really, really potty-mouthed people in the story. It can be quite crass and quite juvenile at times, and I know a lot of people took offense to how they portrayed Noah in this story. I thought it was interesting. They don't put him in a very negative light, but they make him quite unique. I'll let you be the judge of how his character and demeanor turns out. Obviously, I don't want to spoil things for you. So if you're curious, do check it out. If you don't mind this type of text, and I mean, look at it. It's just super dark fantasy. If you like dig stuff like Berserk and, you know, like I said, getting into the more, you know, mythological side of things, especially the things we don't know about necessarily, I think it is absolutely a treat. So hopefully some of you out there might feel the same. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.